that you need to win the battle of public opinion, and you're losing it. You've absolutely lost it in Europe, but much more worryingly for you, you're losing it in America. And I think that what you've just told me about fanaticism is true in part, but it is not going to shape public opinion. People are going to roll their eyes and say, he's saying that anybody who says anything critical about Israel is anti-Semitic. He's giving this large...
Hey guys, I'm Mike, and in this video, we're gonna take a look at a moment where Benjamin Netanyahu is confronted directly, face to face, in a way you don't often see. It's a short clip, only a couple of minutes, but it's been making the rounds because of how blunt and direct the exchange is. Before we dive in, please take a second to subscribe. It really helps the channel, and comment where you are watching from. I reply to all comments. Let's watch the clip together.
Prime Minister, that is one way of viewing the world, and I have some sympathy with some of what you've said. Let me give you another way, which is that many people around the world see the state of Israel as a country that is exclusively using military force, that has killed 70,000 people in Gaza, that is doing nothing to create a sustainable future for people there. That is a country, you've been accused of being a war criminal. That if you went to go to several countries in Europe, you're going to get arrested. This is not just mad campus radicalism. This is a feeling around the world. You said it yourself to us just now. In public opinion around the world, Israel is doing very poorly. And it's doing very poorly because people see a country that is behaving in a way that is not compatible with being a liberal democracy. And therefore, I think you have a problem. I think that loss of public opinion, what struck me from your autobiography was how subtly and for how long you have understood this. You know that political power comes from public opinion, and you know that you need to win the battle of public opinion, and you're losing it. You've absolutely lost it in Europe, but much more worryingly for you, you're losing it in America. And I think that what you've just told me about fanaticism is true in part, but it is not going to shape public opinion. People are going to roll their eyes and say, he's saying that anybody who says anything critical about Israel is anti-Semitic. He's giving this large, this story about fanaticism, and he's not accepting the fact that Israel is behaving in a way that we think is incompatible with the kind of liberal democracy that he claims to be.
1000%. And Israel is definitely losing that war all around the world, but in particularly where I think it's affecting them the most is the United States of America. Now look, I've always had my thoughts on what it is that Israel are doing within Gaza, but seeing the way everyone in America is completely turning their back on not just Israel, but even those that are supported and take donations from Israel. AIPAC, you're seeing even on social platforms, people highlighting lawmakers and representatives who are propped up by Israel, who take donations from Israel. You are literally seeing the tide turn when it comes to the narrative on Israel.
Liberal democracies that fought the battles from World War II.
Just really quickly, before we continue, I want you to keep an eye on the two hosts on the left-hand side of the screen. Watch their reactions as Netanyahu keeps trying to change the narrative and push his talking points.
To Afghanistan, to Iraq, and so on. The ratio of combatants to non-combatants killed was 6-1, 7-1. In Gaza, because Hamas was forcing people to stay in urban areas at gunpoint, the ratio is about 1.5-1. And we lost a lot of soldiers because we didn't carpet bomb.
That is disputed, Prime Minister.
We didn't do...
People have different ratios as well.
I'm telling you, you don't actually, but that's not the point. It certainly wasn't 6-1 or 7-1, and we certainly didn't carpet bomb, which we could have done right away. We've lost a lot of people by my refusal and the IDF's own mores in making sure that doesn't happen. Now, if you have the densest urban warfare theater in history, with 500 kilometers of terror tunnels underneath, 50 meters below, 50 meters above, everything booby-trapped, and you don't come in and just bomb the place to smithereens, which we didn't. I mean, we had everything booby-trapped. We moved the population out, and then you have to fight the Hamas in there. The ratios in Mosul, the ratios in Fallujah, the ratios elsewhere, there's nothing comparison, and that was nothing compared to what our brave soldiers had to face in Gaza. So I dispute the fact. The argument that you put forward is being put forward. It doesn't make it true. What is true is that Israel is fighting these worst killers, these people who took not only beheaded our men, raped our women, and then murdered them, burned our babies alive, and took 255 hostages, which we took out. Nobody believed that we got them out. These are barbarians. And they're given a free look. I have demonstrations on behalf of Hamas. Notice that they're burning the flag of Israel.
Now watch this part carefully. This is another attempt to reframe the narrative and shape how audiences in places like the UK and the United States perceive Israel. Pay attention to how he presents this.
And the flag of the UK, the flag of Israel, and the flag of America. When you have pro-Israel demonstrations, they wave Israeli flags, they wave American flags, they wave British flags. These people are against you, whether you recognize it or not. They will sweep away your societies, your freedoms, your ideas, the values that we cherish, exactly
Prime
as you
Minister,
do.
it really isn't just extreme radicals. There are
I didn't say that,
huge
though.
numbers of people who are concerned about Israel's behavior, frankly, including people like me.
Well, you
Friends
know,
of Israel who
I
are
think that if
concerned-
Britain was invaded, forgive me, you know, if Britain was invaded and you had the equivalent, in Britain, your population is what, 65 million, something like that, 60 million, right? So you're about 6 times our size. So if you had, on one day, about 8,000 Brits murdered, mutilated, raped, and kidnapped, and they came right next to London, what would you do? We know what you did. We know exactly what Britain did, and I don't hold Churchill or the British government or the British people who supported him responsible for saying you shouldn't have acted that way. You bombed the living daylights out of German cities and out of French cities that were in your way and so on. We didn't do that.
Honestly, watching Netanyahu in interviews like this has become almost surreal. It really has. Because what you're seeing isn't confidence, it's desperation. It's someone who knows that the narrative has shifted, that public opinion has shifted, and that the world is no longer just accepting the talking points without question. And that's why you see these constant attempts to redirect, to reframe, to spin, because the reality is people have seen enough. For a very long time, criticism of Israel's leadership was brushed off, ignored, or instantly shut down. But that doesn't work anymore. Not when the images are everywhere. Not when international organizations, aid groups, and legal bodies are raising serious concerns. And that's why moments like this matter, because you're seeing someone finally say these things directly to Netanyahu's face instead of dancing around them. There's a reason the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. That doesn't happen casually, and it doesn't happen because of internet outrage. It happens because there are serious allegations tied to personal responsibility and command responsibility, including war crimes and crimes against humanity. One of the most serious accusations involves the starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, which is prohibited under international law. These aren't opinions, these are legal claims being examined by international institutions. And yet, every time this comes up, the response is denial or deflection, as if the world can't see what's happening, as if footage, reports, and testimony don't exist, as if humanitarian organizations haven't been sounding the alarm for months. There's also the question of access. Credible journalists were not allowed into Gaza for extended periods, and whenever that's raised, there's always an excuse offered. But historically, even in active war zones, journalists are allowed some level of access. That alone raises serious questions. We've also seen an unprecedented number of aid workers killed during this conflict. That's not normal. That's not something that can just be waved away. These are people whose job is to provide food, medical care, and humanitarian relief, and their deaths tell a story that can't simply be erased with press statements or media appearances. So when Netanyahu goes on these shows and tries to reshape the narrative, it doesn't land the way it used to. The world is watching more closely now, people are asking harder questions, and that's exactly why seeing a journalist confront him directly, calmly, and clearly is so important. No shouting, no theatrics, just accountability. At the end of the day, this isn't about propaganda battles or political spin. It's about transparency. It's about responsibility, and it's about acknowledging human suffering instead of dismissing it or trying to explain it away. So I want to know what you think. Do you believe Netanyahu's explanations here, or do you think moments like this signal that public opinion is finally shifting and accountability is becoming unavoidable? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if this is the kind of content you're interested in. I'm Mike, and I'll see you in the next one.